Welcome back to Umbrella Rebellion's deep dive into IBLP's Men's Manual. We are finally moving on in the introduction. Yes, we are still in the introduction. Remember a couple episodes ago, I said, spoiler alert, we're going to get to a section called How the Wives React. Guess what time it is? It is time to review this page. Let's get into it. Why do wives react? We have a cause and an effect. According to Bill Gothard, this is why wives react. Now, remember, this man has never been married. I don't know if any married men ever helped him write this material. I do know that he approved every single thing that was written in these books, and he would have never published anything that he did not have approval of. Caveat there. When a husband fails to be a spiritual leader, his wife feels insecure. When a husband allows problems to continue and even get worse, his wife feels helpless and finally takes matters into her own hands. So if a husband doesn't solve problems, the wife will do it because only men can solve problems, right? When a husband does not support his wife in disciplining the children, his wife blames him for rebellious children. I never experienced that. Despite all efforts to discipline, I was the scapegoat in my first marriage for any problems because I was the one that was home all day and I let them get away with yada, 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 despite no evidence of me just letting my children run amok or whatever. When a husband spends extra money on things which he enjoys, his wife resents the financial pressure under which they must live.
Oh my God!
Because typically you are operating on one income. To spend extra money on wants is not typically going to be a good decision. When a husband does not accept himself, his wife feels the same rejection from him because he projects. I mean, I guess that makes sense in a way. I would word it differently. A husband's insecurity will be turned on his wife and he will be abusive towards her. I think that's a little bit more accurate. When a husband praises or admires other women, his wife feels inferior and jealous. I would say that a wife is not going to necessarily feel jealous and insecure if she is secure in her marriage. I watch shows with my husband. Okay, yeah, I'm bisexual. So, we can appreciate a nice looking woman together. But that doesn't mean that my husband wants to step out on me. We're all humans. What matters is the way he treats me and his respect for me, and that he comes home to me every night. I think the insecurity comes from not feeling prioritized, not necessarily that he's a human being and can appreciate beauty in other people. That is just my personal opinion and the way my relationship works, but I understand that there might not be as much security in a relationship as I have in mine. I will also say, when it comes to partnerships, jealousy and insecurity can often be correlated with a sense of ownership over the other person. And once you release that desire to have that person be quote unquote yours and understanding that they're choosing to be with you, sometimes that helps with jealousy and insecurity. At least for me, it did. Understanding the dynamic that I don't own my partner. When a husband verbalizes love only when he wants a physical relationship with his wife feels degraded and used and finds it hard to love him. Did they read this ever? I felt that way in my first marriage. There was actual data that was collected by Sheila Ray Gregory. She is the author of The Great Sex Rescue. In that data that she compiled from conservative Christian women. I'm not exactly sure what her sample size is, but I've heard her talk about it on her podcast. There is data to support the abuse of women in marriages when it comes to intimacy, how the biblical teaching of wives being obligated to have sex with their husbands affects women and their relationship. When a husband forgets anniversaries and other special occasions, his wife feels that she is unimportant and not cherished by him. Some women, I'm not big on celebrations. I'll be honest with you, I could care less if you get me a present on my birthday. It would be nice to have a little something. Take me out to eat, spend time with me, something like that. anniversary, I appreciate it if we go out and do something and enjoy each other's company, or even just have a quiet night at home alone. What I need and what means more to me and makes me feel important is that every day there's some kind of act in his daily life that shows me that he cares. And my husband does an amazing job at that. I feel so taken care of, especially with my chronic illness and how much he's taken on despite his own struggles with his own physical health. Just to clarify that, he allows me to rest so I can work and provide an income for the family as well. Otherwise, there are many days where if I tried to do things around the house, I couldn't work the next day. So we have discussed this at length, and that is the agreement that we came to for our relationship. When a husband does not praise his wife for specific things, his wife feels frustrated in not knowing how to please him. I would say that I actually agree with this. For me personally, being noticed that I put effort into doing anything has always been important to me my whole entire life, because with ADHD and my very difficult struggle with executive function, there are days where just getting out of bed and going somewhere was an accomplishment. So anything that I did above and beyond that, I was like, man, that took a lot of effort. It'd be nice if somebody noticed. But for a lot of people, it's not that big of a deal to get up and do the things that I did. So they didn't understand how I needed recognition for that. But I am also guilty of not seeing things that people do because ADHD, and I just don't notice things all the time. Something that I have to work on myself for others as well. All right, so we're about halfway through this page. I don't want this to get too long, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Let me know in the comments, is there anything on this page that you agree with? And which one bothers you the most, if any, and why? I'm so curious to see what your thoughts are on Gothard's opinion of why wives react. With that, I will end this episode. If somebody has not told you today or ever, I am proud of you.